Good afternoon, everyone. Are you all there?
Good
Good
afternoon, ma'am.
afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
How are you all?
Fine, ma'am.
How was your MCQ test yesterday? MCQ anatomy test. It was easy, average, or difficult? What is your rating for that? Don't know? Not
Medium
sure?
difficulty.
Huh?
Maybe medium difficulty, ma'am.
Easy? Very easy? Am I audible to you all? Am I audible?
Yes,
Ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, today we are discussing one of the important topics of embryology, which is dealing with the development of the arterial system of the head and neck region, mainly the vessels of the head and neck region, which are developed from something called as the aortic arches. Okay, so uh, how this will develop, so we'll go into that. What are aortic arches, how many aortic arches are there, what is their fate, so we'll discuss with all those things. So whatever earlier in the earlier period of the embryonic life, the embryo is getting nutrition from the whatever the deutoplasm during the early stages of development in the blastocyst stage, and or later it is due to the development of the uteroplacental circulation, but the definitive arteries have to be developed in the fetal life itself, which will later turn into the adult arteries, pattern of the adult arteries. So in the head and neck region you have something called as the aortic arches. So where do these aortic arches arise? I think now you all already know the development of the heart. So what is heart tube, how many parts are there? So I will not go into the details of that. So what I want to tell is, in the early embryonic period, what happens in the head and neck region, where your the foregut, midgut, hindgut, and all this will be developing. In the foregut region, what happens? The lateral wall of the pharynx shows numerous serial bars, mesodermal bars, which are covered on the external aspect by the ectoderm and on the internal aspect by the endoderm. And these arches, pharyngeal arches, will lead to the development of the various muscles, vessels, nerves of the head and neck region. Whatever the skeletal elements, the connective tissue elements, all will be developed from that pharyngeal arches. So each of these pharyngeal arches will be traversed by arteries, which are called as the aortic arches. So this is all during the 4th and 5th week of the development. So how this will be formed? So we'll go into the details. So first, initially what happens? There are two vessels in the early embryonic life or during the 4th to 5th week of development. First, there will be two vessels, primitive vessels, which are called as the primitive aorta. You can see on both the sides. So this is the head and neck region, what you are seeing here. So this is the developing heart tube, what you are seeing. Okay, this is the sinus venosus, which will be connected with the vitelline veins and the umbilical veins, and on either side will be having the cardinal veins. So this is the developing heart tube. Okay, so in the cardiogenic area. Now what happens? There are two vessels which are called as the primitive aorta, which are running longitudinally in the embryonic area or in the embryonic disc. So these are called as the primitive aorta. These primitive aorta will extend headwards in the cephalic region to establish communication with the first. It is prior to the embryonic fold, they will establish communication with the caudal end of the heart tube. First, initially, before the head fold of the embryo, these aorta will establish communication with the cephalic edge of the heart tube. Now, this heart tube or this aorta will be intervening between the yolk sac and the notochord. Here behind will be having the notochord, and this is the developing yolk sac. So it is dorsal wall of the yolk sac. So it is intervening between the notochord and the dorsal wall of the yolk sac. Later what happens, due to the head fold of the embryo, the heart comes to lie in front of the foregut. So it comes to lies in front of the foregut. So what happens, whatever the caudal edge will be there, it will become the cephalic edge. Okay. So this cephalic edge will be called as the bulbus cordis. Initially it is called as the bulbus cordis. So what happens, later there will be bending of this aorta along the first branchial arch, which are also developing along the lateral wall of the pharynx. So these are the arches what you are seeing. So this aorta will bend along the first pharyngeal arch. So what happens? So the aorta will be divided into three parts. The part which will be lying ventral to the foregut will be called as the ventral aorta. The part which will be lying dorsal to the foregut will be called as the dorsal aorta. This is the dorsal aorta, and the first will be the first aortic arch, so which will be connecting the initial ventral aorta and the dorsal aorta. So now the aorta will be divided into three parts due to bending along the lateral wall of the pharynx. One is the ventral aorta, which is ventral to the developing foregut. Then the dorsal aorta, which is along the dorsal to the foregut, and the first pharyngeal arch. So first, only the first pharyngeal arch will be formed. Now what happens, this ventral aorta will so now this is the ventral aorta, now what you are seeing, and this is the dorsal aorta. Now this ventral aorta will fuse together and form something called as the, initially it is the bulbus cordis. Later when this ventral aorta will fuse, they will form something called as the truncus arteriosus. And the distal part, this will dilate and form something called as the aortic sac, and distally it will be connected by two limbs to the dorsal aorta. These are the two limbs of the aortic sac. So first what happens, when these two ventral aorta will fuse together, they will form something called as the truncus arteriosus. That truncus arteriosus will dilate and form something called as the aortic sac. This aortic sac, distally it will have two limbs. These two limbs, right and left limbs, will be connected to the dorsal aorta initially by the first aortic arch. Later what happens, there will be development of the 6 arches. There are totally 6 pharyngeal arches in the lateral wall of the pharynx. So what happens, there will be development of the 6 aortic arches. So there will be development of the 6 aortic arches, which will connect the ventral aorta with the dorsal aorta. So these are the 6 aortic arches, okay, which will be running along the lateral wall of the pharynx. Now this is the 2 ventral aorta which will fuse together. Okay, here it will form the truncus arteriosus, which will dilate and form the aortic sac. The aortic sac distally has 2 limbs, the right and the left limbs. These limbs will be connected with the dorsal aorta by a series of arches, which are called as the aortic arches. Okay, so these are all the aortic arches. Now you have to know what is the fate of all these arches. Now later what happens, whatever the dorsal aorta is there, it is initially it is paired, but it will fuse in a caudocranial sequence. Okay, and form in, only in the pharyngeal arches there are 2 dorsal aorta. Caudal to that there will be only single dorsal aorta. Okay, that is how the series of the aortic arches will be formed. Now this is, you can see, so this is nothing but the truncus arteriosus. So it is dilating to form the aortic sac. So initially there is only first arch, later series of arches will develop, which will connect it to the corresponding or the ipsilateral side of the dorsal aorta. So this is all the dorsal aorta what you can see. So the primitive aorta, it is divided into 3 segments: ventral aorta, first aortic arch, the dorsal aorta. So whatever the 2 ventral aorta are there, they will fuse and form the heart tube. So you can see that these arches are connected to the heart tube. Okay, it is establishing communication with the heart tubes. So here you can see this is all the dorsal aorta, which is single here. It is single. Only in this region it will be paired. So now this is the developing heart tube, what you are seeing. So this is the sinus venosus. This is the sinus venosus. So we'll come to the aortic arches proper. So these aortic arches, from where they arise? They arise from the aortic sac and terminate in the dorsal aorta of the ipsilateral side, which I have already told. So there are altogether 6 pairs of the aortic arches, but all are not present at the same time. One will appear, the other will disappear. Again, the third will appear, the fourth will disappear. This is how a series of arches will be developing. So during the 8th week, the aortic arch pattern is transformed into the final fetal arrangement, fetal arterial arrangement. So this is how they will be appearing in a craniocaudal sequence. So this is how your aortic arches will look like. So this is the aortic sac. What you are seeing, the right and the left limb of the aortic sac. So these are the right and the left dorsal aorta. So here they will fuse. Okay, they will fuse and form a single dorsal aorta. So this is the total pattern. What you are seeing again. So 6 pairs of arches. Okay. So here you can see again. These will be communicating with the developing heart tube. Now, what happens? You might have known about already the aortopulmonary segment. So what happens? This aortopulmonary segment, it is attached to the. So it will attach, fix here at the caudal edge, and it will. So what happens? Whatever the it will divide the truncus arteriosus into ventrally into the ascending aorta and dorsally into something called as the pulmonary artery or the pulmonary trunk. So what happens? Whatever the 5 pairs of arches are, the upper 5 arches, they will end into these 5 arches. They will end into the ventral part of the aortic sac or the truncus arteriosus, or you can say into the ascending aorta, carrying the oxygenated blood. Whereas the 6th pair of the arch, it will carry the deoxygenated blood. So this is the 6th pair of the aortic arch, which will be connected to the pulmonary trunk. So upper 6 pairs, so they will be opening into the ascending aorta. Upper 5 pairs will be opening into the ascending aorta, and only the 6th will be opening into the pulmonary trunk. How? By the attachment of the spiral aortopulmonary septum, okay, which will divide the truncus arteriosus into ventrally into the ascending aorta and dorsally into the pulmonary trunk. So this pairs will be connected to the ascending aorta, and this will be connected to the 6th will be connected to the pulmonary trunk. So this is also called as the pulmonary arch. So this arch will be carrying the deoxygenated, and this will be carrying the oxygenated blood. So what happens? So that will be seeing what happens to these arches. So what will be the derivatives of the first pair of the aortic arches? So almost the first pair will disappear, only a part of it will be remaining, which forms the maxillary artery. So the maxillary artery is a derivative of the first arch. So first arch will form something called as the maxillary artery. So these are all the, so now you can see these are the arches. So you can see in a better way here. So the 2 dorsal aorta here. Now from the first arch artery, you have mainly the maxillary artery. First arch will mainly contribute to the formation of the maxillary artery. Most of it will disappear. Whereas from the second arch, again most of it will disappear, will only form something called as the stapedial artery and the hyoid artery. Only it will remain as 2 arteries. One is the stapedial artery and the other one is the hyoid artery. So by the time the first pair of arch will disappear, the third will start appearing. By the time second will disappear, the fourth will start appearing. This is how the sequence of events will be taking place. Okay. So first will disappear, the third will appear. Now what happens? Due to the elongation of the neck and the caudal shifting of the heart, whatever the blood from the third arch is there, it will be reaching upwards and in the cephalic region, and whatever from the fourth arch is there, it is directed caudalwards. So what happens? The region between the third or the dorsal aorta between the third and the fourth arch will disappear on both the sides, and this is called as the ductus caroticus. This is called as the ductus caroticus. So now these are the two dorsal aorta what you are seeing. Okay, so these are all the arches. Okay, this is the aortic sac here. So these are the dorsal aorta. So here you can see they have fused. So due to this elongation of the neck and the caudal shifting of the heart, this part will disappear, because here the blood flow is directed in the cephalic direction, here it is directed in the caudal direction. So this part will disappear. This is called as the ductus caroticus. Okay, so from the first arch we have got mainly the maxillary artery. Most of it will disappear. Only some part will form as the maxillary artery. And the second arch, again most of it will disappear, and only the hyoid artery and the other one is the stapedial artery. So these are the only two arteries which will be, this is the stapedial artery and this is the hyoid artery. Only these two will be remaining as the remnants of the second arch. So these are the derivatives of the first and the second arch respectively. Okay, so dorsal part of these arteries persist as the stapedial artery. Okay, so these are the derivatives of the second arch. Now what happens to the third arch? So the third arch, what happens, by the time the first arch is disappearing, a new vessel altogether sprouts headwards from the third arch, or from the junction of the beginning of the third arch. This is called as the external carotid artery. This is the third. So first and second you can see it has mostly regressed. You can see in this picture very clearly. So the first and the second, they are mostly regressed. So what happens? Altogether a new vessel sprouts headwards from the junction, initially from the beginning, later it is shifted totally to the third arch. So this is called as the external carotid artery, a new vessel sprouting from the third aortic arch. This is called as the external carotid artery. Now the part of the distal or the dorsal part of the third arch and the remaining part of the right dorsal aorta cephalic to the ductus caroticus will form the internal carotid artery. So what I have told, this ductus caroticus between the third and the fourth arch will disappear. So whatever the dorsal aorta cephalic to the ductus caroticus is there, so this will form the internal carotid artery along with the dorsal part of the third aortic arch. So now two important vessels of the head and neck region are formed, that is the external carotid artery, internal carotid artery. So external is totally a new vessel sprouting from the third aortic arch, and the internal carotid artery is from the dorsal part of the third aortic arch and the right dorsal aorta cephalic to the ductus caroticus. So this is the internal carotid artery. So what is the fate of this remaining the ventral part of the third aortic arch? So this will form the common carotid artery. So you can see here, this is the common carotid artery. So from the third aortic arch, we have got the external carotid artery as a totally a new vessel. Then the dorsal part of the third aortic arch and the right dorsal aorta will form the internal carotid artery, whereas this part, that is the ventral part of the third aortic arch, will form something called as the common carotid artery. So this is how the important vessels of the head and neck region will be formed. So this is the common carotid artery. Now later what happens? Simultaneously there will be development of the limb buds also. So in order to supply the nutrition to the limb buds, there will be development, or to supply the remaining part of the body, there will be development of the body wall, there will be development of the intersegmental arteries. So these are developed from the dorsal aorta. So this is the intersegmental artery what I am showing. So to supply the remaining part of the body, there will be development of the intersegmental arteries from the dorsal aorta. So to supply the limb bud, upper limb bud, there will be development of the 7th intersegmental artery from the dorsal aorta caudal to the 6th aortic arch. So this is the 6th aortic arch. So caudal to that, you will be having the 7th intersegmental artery which will be supplying the upper limb bud. Okay, so what is the fate of this? We'll see. So from the 3rd aortic arch, you are having mainly the common carotid artery, the external carotid artery totally as arising as a new vessel, and the internal carotid artery. So these are the derivatives of the 3rd aortic arch. So you can see here, so this is the external, this is the internal, and this will be the common carotid artery. Now the carotid arteries will be developing from the aortic arches. So this is about the 3rd arch. Now what happens to the 4th arch? So this is the 4th arch now. So this 4th arch along with the right dorsal aorta caudal to the ductus caroticus and the right 7th intersegmental artery will form your right subclavian artery. So this is the right subclavian artery. Okay, so the right 4th aortic arch along with the dorsal aorta, right dorsal aorta caudal to the ductus caroticus and the right 7th intersegmental artery will form something called as your right subclavian artery. Then how about on the left side? So left side what you will be having? What is this? What is this? Are you able to see? What is this I am showing? Arch of aorta. So that will be developing from the left aortic, 4th aortic arch. So how this arch of aorta will be developing? It will be developing from 3 sources. So this is the aortic arch, arch of aorta. So it will be developing from the left limb of the aortic sac, left 4th aortic arch and the left dorsal aorta. So left dorsal aorta, then the left 4th aortic arch and the left limb of the aortic sac. Okay, so this is the fate of the left 4th aortic arch. So it is mainly forming the arch of the aorta. Arch of the aorta. So this is what you are seeing is the arch of aorta here. Okay, so now what happens? What is the fate of this artery? Now this part which is connecting with the aortic sac, that is the right 4th aortic arch, that part, this will be forming the brachiocephalic trunk. So brachiocephalic trunk will be formed by the right limb of the aortic sac. So right limb will form the brachiocephalic trunk. So this is the right subclavian artery, and this will be the brachiocephalic trunk. Then on the left side you are having mainly the arch of the aorta. So this is the arch of the aorta. This left 7th intersegmental artery will continue as the left subclavian artery. Later, because of the caudal displacement of the heart, this will be shifted upwards. This whatever the subclavian artery is there, it will go close to the left common carotid artery. So from the arch of the aorta you are having this. So the brachiocephalic trunk, then the left the common carotid and the left subclavian. Right is completely different. So it is taking origin from the right 4th aortic arch, the right dorsal aorta, okay, and the right 7th intersegmental artery. The left 7th intersegmental artery will continue as the left subclavian artery. Later it will be shifting upwards. So from the right and the left 4th aortic arches what you are having. So on the right side mainly you are having the right subclavian artery and again the brachiocephalic trunk, whereas on the left side you are mainly having the arch of aorta and the left subclavian artery which is continuing from the left intersegmental artery. So this is how the 4th arch will give rise to various artery. 5th arch, or as such the 5th pharyngeal arch will totally regress. So there will be no derivatives of the 5th pharyngeal arch. So you are having 6 arches, so of that 5th will be totally disappearing. No, there are no remnants of it. So this is the 5th arch in the broken lines what you are seeing. So this is the 5th pharyngeal arch which is disappearing. Now next coming to the 6th arch. So this will be the 6th arch. Okay, the 6th arch. What is the fate of the 6th arch? Whatever the dorsal part is there, so the dorsal part of this, so this dorsal part, the ventral part will be forming the pulmonary artery on both the sides, whereas the dorsal part on the right side will disappear. So there will be no communication with the dorsal aorta here, whereas on the left side it will form something called as the ductus arteriosus. Ductus arteriosus. So what this ductus arteriosus will do in the fetal life? It will be helping in the shunting of the blood from the pulmonary trunk to the aorta. So that is the ductus arteriosus here what you are seeing. So only on the left side it will be remaining in the fetal life. In the adult life it will regress. So it will remain as the ligamentum arteriosum. Ligamentum arteriosum. Simultaneously what happens, there will be one lung bud which will be developing here. So from this the vessels will be going to the lung bud in the form of the capillary plexuses. So this is the pulmonary artery on both the sides. So this will reach the lung bud through capillary plexuses, and the dorsal part of the right 6th aortic arch will disappear. There will be no communication with the dorsal aorta, whereas on the left side it will form the ductus arteriosus, which later regresses and forms something called as the ligamentum arteriosum, which connects the pulmonary trunk to the caudal surface of the aorta. So this is the arch of aorta. So it connects the pulmonary trunk to the caudal surface of the aorta, arch of aorta. So that is the ligamentum arteriosum. So whatever the right dorsal aorta caudal to the 7th intersegmental artery is there, it will regress. This part will regress. So these are all the derivatives of the aortic arches. So you can see here, so first and the second arch mostly will disappear. So from the first arch you are having the maxillary artery, then from the second arch you are mainly having the hyoid artery and the stapedial artery. From the third arch you are having the common carotid. So this right common carotid and the external as a new vessel from the third aortic arch. The internal carotid artery formed by the right 4th aortic arch and the right dorsal third aortic arch and the right dorsal aorta cephalic to the ductus caroticus. So this is the ductus caroticus. Because of the elongation of the neck and the caudal shifting of the heart, the blood will be flowing upwards and this side downwards. So this part will regress. Okay, this is the ductus caroticus. So what about the 4th arch? 4th arch will form the right 4th aortic arch along with the right dorsal aorta, and the right 7th intersegmental artery will form the right subclavian artery, and this part will remain as the brachiocephalic trunk. Whereas on the left side it is mainly forming the arch of aorta. Arch of aorta has got 3 sources of development. One is the left limb of the aortic sac, the left arch of aorta and the left dorsal aorta. So this will form the arch of aorta. Okay, this is the arch of aorta. This left 7th intersegmental artery will form the left subclavian artery. Later this origin will be shifted here. So you can see here, this is the arch of the aorta, what you are seeing. So this is the left subclavian artery, this is the left common carotid artery, then this is the brachiocephalic trunk where you have got the right subclavian artery and the right common carotid. So right common carotid is from the brachiocephalic trunk and left common carotid is from the arch of the aorta. So this you have to know. Okay, so this is about the 4 arches. 5th will disappear. 6th, so the ventral part of it will form the pulmonary artery on the respective sides, and the ventral the dorsal part will regress on the right side, whereas on the left side it will form something called as the ductus arteriosus, which will be shunting the blood from the pulmonary trunk to the dorsal aorta. So you can see here, this is the septum which will divide. Okay, so you can see here. So these 5 arches will be connected to this, whereas only the 6th arch is connected to the pulmonary trunk. Okay, so this is the ductus arteriosus. Caudal to the right 7th intersegmental artery, this part will regress. So this part will regress. So these are the derivatives of the various aortic arches. Very important when we are dealing with the embryology model. So usually it will be asked which are the derivatives of the various arches. Even for your NEET PG, further when you will be preparing, many questions will be asked from these aortic arches. So these are all the various, you can see here. So again, this is the ductus arteriosus, which will later regress and form the ligamentum arteriosum. So it will connect the pulmonary artery to the undersurface of the arch of the aorta. Because in the fetal life it is connecting these two. So it is seen here, that is the ligamentum arteriosum. So this is the arch of the aorta, what you are seeing here with all the 3 branches, that is the the brachiocephalic, the common carotid and the left subclavian artery. So this will help you further when you are reading the gross anatomy, how to remember the various branches. Okay. So 4th arch, so all this we have discussed. So this is again a more clear picture what you can see. So this is the brachiocephalic artery, the right subclavian artery. This is the right common carotid dividing to external and the internal. So this is the arch of the aorta. This is the pulmonary artery, and this is the ligamentum arteriosum. So it will regress. So for the 6th arch, you can see this. So these are all the various derivatives of the aortic arches. So this part is regressing, what I mentioned. So between the origin of the 7th intersegmental artery and the junction with the left dorsal aorta, so this will disappear. So I hope it is clear for you all what are the various derivatives of the aortic arches. So it should be like on the tip of the tongue, you have to buy out all these things. So just go through it once, read it, then you will understand it in a better way. So one thing what you should know is the relations of the various nerves. So all these arches will be having the nerves. So there are 6 pharyngeal arches. All the arches will be having their respective nerves, which will be supplying the muscles of that arch. Okay. So all these nerves will be lying initially in the lateral to this artery. Later they will come on to the medial side of the artery. Only the thing is the recurrent laryngeal nerves, they will be hooking along the lower part. So they will be winding around the arch of aorta here on the left side, and this, because of the disappearance, so they will be here, it won't find. Okay, so that is the only difference. So that is how you have to know. So when the nerves will be taken, that time you will understand it in a better way. Just remember, the arteries and nerves will be situated in the various pharyngeal arches. So these are the arches, what you should know, the derivatives of the aortic arches. So some anomalies regarding it you have to know. So what we have told, some will be appearing, some will be disappearing. So what happens, some anomalies will be developing if some fail to regress or some fail to appear, the anomalies will be appearing. So what are those anomalies, what you will be noting in the aortic arch? One is called as the coarctation of aorta or the constriction of aorta, double aortic arch and the right arch of aorta. So these are the various anomalies noted in the aortic arches. So one more is the patent ductus arteriosus. So what is this patent ductus arteriosus? What we have told, the ductus arteriosus, which is shunting the blood from the aorta to the left dorsal aorta in the fetal life, it will usually under normal conditions it will functionally first closed due to the contraction of the muscle wall immediately after delivery, after the birth, but anatomically it will close after around 3 to 4 months due to the thickening of the walls of the artery. So that will remain as something called as the ligamentum arteriosum, which we have told, which will connect the undersurface of the arch of the aorta to the pulmonary artery. Sometimes if this ductus arteriosus remains patent, so if it is remaining, if it is not obliterating, so it will form something called as the patent ductus arteriosus. So this may be seen as an isolated anomaly, or it will be seen with the other defects of the congenital heart disease. So something that is called as the patent ductus arteriosus. If the ductus arteriosus fails to regress, so that is called as the patent ductus arteriosus. Then next time something about the double aortic arch. What is this double aortic arch? When the right dorsal aorta persists caudal to the seventh intersegmental artery. So what we have told, normally it will regress. If this part will not regress, it will form something called as the double aortic arch. So double aortic arch. So here you can see. So this what you are seeing. So left aortic arch and the right aortic arch. So this is the right aortic arch. So it will form a ring around the trachea and the esophagus. So what happens? So it will compress them, and sometimes it will lead to difficulty in breathing and swallowing. So this is the right aortic arch what you are seeing. When this part fails to regress, that is the right dorsal aorta caudal to the seventh intersegmental artery, if it fails to regress, it forms something called as the double aortic arch. So double aortic arch is seen in the amphibians. Okay, it is a common feature of the amphibians. So this is how it will appear. So it will form a ring around these vessels, the trachea and the esophagus. That is double aortic arch. Then there is something called as the right aortic arch. So right aortic arch means what happens? This part will remain, this part will disappear. Only this left dorsal aorta, the caudal to this seventh intersegmental artery. So this will disappear. Normally this should be remaining. If this will disappear, it will lead to something called as the right aortic arch. So this right aortic arch is commonly seen in the birds. So these are the two anomalies, that is the double aortic arch and the right aortic arch. Then there is something called as a coarctation of aorta. So what is this coarctation of aorta? When there is a local narrowing of the lumen of the aorta just distal to the origin of the left subclavian artery, it is called as the coarctation of the aorta. So this is the aorta what you are seeing. So if there is the narrowing of the aorta just distal to the subclavian artery, so that is leading to something called as the coarctation of aorta, which is due to thickening of the, it is particularly a disease of the tunica media. Later tunica intima also will be remaining, it will be thickening. So there are two types, one is called as the preductal and the other one is called as the postductal. In the preductal variety, the ductus arteriosus remains patent, and in the postductal variety what happens, this ductus arteriosus regresses and forms something called as the ligamentum arteriosum. So this is the constriction of the aorta just distal to the subclavian artery. So this is called as the coarctation of the aorta. So two types, preductal and the postductal type. Then there is something called as aberrant or something called as the abnormal origin of the right subclavian artery. What happens? This fourth aortic arch of subclavian artery, right, what we have told, it is taking origin from the right aortic arch and the right dorsal aorta and the right seventh intersegmental artery. Sometimes what happens, this left fourth aortic arch will disappear. So what happens, this right subclavian artery will take origin from the right dorsal aorta. So this what happens, the junction of this will be shifted along with the descending aorta and the arch of the aorta. So this is called as the abnormal origin of the right subclavian artery, that is from the right seventh intersegmental artery and the right dorsal aorta will form the aberrant or the abnormal origin of the subclavian artery. So this is something called as the aberrant or the abnormal origin of the right subclavian artery. So this is the aberrant. Okay. So these are the various anomalies which are noted in the aortic arches. Then we'll be seeing the development of the venous system. Only two important veins which are dealing with the heart, what we have discussed, that is the development of the heart. So one is the superior vena cava and the other one is the inferior vena cava. But before knowing the development of the superior and the inferior vena cava, you have to know some major veins of the body in the intrauterine life. So what are those veins? There are three important veins. One is called as the vitelline veins, the other one is the umbilical veins, and the last one is something called as the cardinal veins. So what does this vitelline veins do? They will drain the blood or carry the poorly oxygenated blood from the yolk sac. So that is the vitelline veins. These umbilical veins, they carry the oxygenated blood from the placenta to the fetus. These cardinal veins, they will drain the most of the blood from the body wall, and they also carry the poorly oxygenated blood. So where do they end? So these are all the vitelline veins which you are seeing in the yolk sac. This is the developing yolk sac. So these are all the vitelline veins. So umbilical veins in the umbilical cord and the cardinal veins which will be draining the body wall. So these are the cardinal veins. So these are the three important veins. So these two are called as the visceral veins. The cardinal veins are called as the somatic veins since they are draining the blood from the body wall. So where do they end? Ultimately they will be opening into the sinus venosus. So this is the sinus venosus. So all these veins, that is the vitelline vein, umbilical vein and the cardinal veins. So the vitelline vein, umbilical veins in the floor, whereas the cardinal veins along the right and the left horn of the sinus venosus, they will be draining the blood. So this is how you can see. This is sinus venosus. So these are the right and the left horns. These are the vitelline veins and these are the umbilical veins. So most of this, just some part of this I will tell you. So these are the vitelline veins. So vitelline veins, what happens? The cephalic, most of this will regress. Only the cephalic part of this, what happens? It will be connected to the, it will connect the liver to the heart. So here the heart, the liver will be developing in the septum transversum, and here you are having the heart. So there is a connection between the liver and the heart through the hepatocardiac channel. So this left hepatocardiac channel will disappear, only the right will remain. So what is the fate of this, we will see later. So these are the cardinal veins on the either side. Okay. So this is the hepatocardiac channel which is connecting the liver and the heart. So next is about the cardinal veins. So there are two cardinal veins on the either side of the body wall. Anterior cardinal veins will be draining the blood from the cephalic region of the embryo, and the posterior cardinal veins will be draining the blood from the lower part of the body. Okay, so these are the two cardinal veins, anterior and the posterior cardinal veins on the right and the left side respectively. So these two cardinal veins will be connected with each other, or these posterior cardinal veins will communicate cranially with the anterior cardinal vein through something called as the common cardinal vein. So where does this common cardinal vein drains? So common cardinal vein will ultimately drain into the sinus venosus. So here you are having the anterior and here you will be having the posterior. So this will form the common cardinal veins on the right and the left side, which is opening into the sinus venosus. What happens? Along the caudal ends of these cardinal veins, they will be receiving the veins of the lower limb bud, that is the internal and the external iliac veins. Okay. So the caudal ends of this posterior cardinal veins are connected to each other by an anastomosis. So this is an anastomosis cephalic to this iliac veins. So these posterior cardinal veins will be communicating with each other through an anastomosis. Then next is something called as the subcardinal veins. So these are called as the subcardinal veins. From where do they arise? From the mesonephros. What is mesonephros? Where your kidney is developing. So these subcardinal veins will be draining the blood from that kidneys. Okay, so these are the something called as subcardinal veins, which will communicate cranially and caudally with the posterior cardinal vein. So this is the posterior cardinal vein. These are the subcardinal veins. So which will be developing here, in the mesonephros. So they will be receiving the blood from the developing kidneys. Then at the level of the renal veins, these two subcardinal veins will also communicate with each other via intersubcardinal anastomosis. So this is the transverse anastomosis in front of the aorta. So this is called as the intersubcardinal anastomosis. So these are the subcardinal veins. Okay. Next, what happens? The cranial part of the subcardinal veins also will communicate with the right hepatocardiac channel. Just now I have told the cephalic part of the right vitelline veins. So they will form something called as the right hepatocardiac channels, which is a communication between the liver and the heart, developing liver and the heart. Okay. So what is this fate? We'll see later. So this is the right hepatocardiac channel, which will communicate with the subcardinal veins. So now we have come across anterior cardinal veins. These are the posterior cardinal veins. These are the subcardinal veins. Then next you have got something called as a supracardinal veins, which will be on the lateral aspect of this subcardinal veins. So orange color what you are seeing. So these are all the supracardinal veins, which will be on the lateral side of the subcardinal veins. So this will be draining veins from the other part of the body. So this will be cranially and caudally communicating with the posterior cardinal vein, and they also develop a communication with the subcardinal vein by a subcardinal supracardinal anastomosis. So there is anastomosis between the subcardinal, that is the green, and the supracardinal, that is the orange. So this brownish what you are seeing, so that is the subcardinal supracardinal anastomosis. So this is the posterior cardinal vein, this is the anastomosis between them. This is the subcardinal vein, this is the anastomosis between them. This is the supracardinal vein, which will be anastomosing with the subcardinal vein. Okay. So many part of this longitudinal venous channels, so they will disappear. Only some will remain and form the veins like the inferior vena cava, renal vein, veins of the gonad, and the suprarenal vein. So today we are discussing about the development of the inferior vena cava. So this inferior vena cava you are seeing here. So it has got a composite development. It has got many sources of development. So now just I'll tell you here. So this is the posterior cardinal vein. This green color what is the subcardinal, and this is the supracardinal. So most of it has got regressed. Only some part you are seeing is remaining, and this is the hepatocardiac, the anastomosis between the subcardinal and the hepatocardiac channel. This is the anastomosing link. So all this part will form the inferior vena cava. So what are the sources of development of inferior vena cava? First is the right posterior cardinal vein, or the caudal part of the posterior cardinal vein. Then the caudal part of the right supracardinal vein, the anastomosis between the supracardinal and the subcardinal, that is the subcardinal supracardinal anastomosis. Then the part of the subcardinal vein, the right subcardinal vein. Then the anastomosis between the right subcardinal and the right hepatocardiac channel, and this is the right hepatocardiac channel itself, which is opening into the heart, developing heart. Okay, so these are all the sources. So this is how you can see, this is all the inferior vena cava, how it is developing. So this is from the posterior cardinal vein. So this is from the supracardinal vein. Then this part is the anastomosis between the supracardinal and the subcardinal. This is the subcardinal vein, which is right subcardinal vein. This is the anastomosis between the subcardinal and the hepatocardiac channel, and this will be the intracardiac part of the inferior vena cava. You can see here, this is the hepatocardiac channel. So this is the composite development of the inferior vena cava. Is it clear? So these veins should be clear for you all. That is the posterior, the supracardinal vein, and the subcardinal vein, and their various anastomoses. Okay? Have you got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you able to understand? I know it is little difficult. You have to just go through it once. So you have to understand what are these various cardinal veins and how they are developing into the various veins of the body. Okay. So these are the cardinal veins. Now something called as the double inferior vena cava. So this is mainly below the renal veins, where you can see the inferior vena cava. That is due to the persistence of the left posterior cardinal vein. If it remains persistent, that will form something called as the double inferior vena cava. So this is applied anatomy about the inferior vena cava. So that was the development of the inferior vena cava. Next you have got the development of the superior vena cava. So this is the development of the superior vena cava. So now what you are seeing, this is green is the posterior cardinal vein. Okay, this is the anterior cardinal vein, right, and this is the left. These are the common cardinal veins which will be draining into the sinus venosus. This anterior cardinal vein will give numerous intersegmental veins, like just like you have got the intersegmental arteries, you have got the intersegmental veins. So the seventh one will form something called as the subclavian vein. Like you have got the subclavian artery, so you have got the subclavian vein. Just distal to that, these two anterior cardinal veins will communicate with each other via oblique anastomosis or a transverse anastomosis here. So this is the anastomosis. So there will be anastomosis between all the cardinal veins. So they are developing communication with each other. So this is the communication between the two anterior cardinal veins. So what is the development of the superior vena cava? So this is the right common cardinal vein and this is the right anterior cardinal vein caudal to the anastomosis, transverse anastomosis. So these two will lead to the formation of the superior vena cava. So superior vena cava has got two sources of development. One is the right anterior cardinal vein caudal to the anastomosis and the right common cardinal vein. So where this common cardinal vein opens, we have told it is opening into the sinus. So here, so it is opening into the sinus venosus. So what happens? So superior vena cava initially is opening into the right horn of the sinus venosus. It is opening initially into the right horn of the sinus venosus. Later what happens? This sinus venosus is absorbed to form the right atrium. Later, so the superior vena cava will open into the right atrium. So initially the superior vena cava is opening into the right horn of the sinus venosus because this is the common cardinal vein, right common cardinal vein, which will form the superior vena cava. So later what happens? The sinus venosus is involved in the formation of the right atrium. So what happens? Ultimately the superior vena cava will open into the right atrium. So that is how the superior and the inferior vena cava will open into the right atrium because they are draining into this sinus venosus. So this is the development. So again you have got the anomalies just like the inferior vena cava. So you have got the left superior vena cava. So what happens? Why this anomaly is seen? Because due to the persistence of the left anterior cardinal vein and the obliteration of the common cardinal vein and the anterior cardinal veins of the right side. So it is on the mirror image on the left side. So right side it is disappearing. It is here it is on the left side. So where it is opening ultimately into the coronary sinus. Then you have got the double superior vena cava. So again it is due to persistence of the left anterior cardinal vein. So again if this remains persistent, so it will form the double superior vena cava. The right will open into the right atrium, whereas the left will open into the coronary sinus. So this is how the superior and the inferior vena cava will develop. So superior will be developing from the right anterior cardinal vein caudal to the anastomosis and the right common cardinal vein. Inferior vena cava will be developing from the right posterior caudal part of the right posterior cardinal vein, the right supracardinal vein, the anastomosis between the subcardinal and the supracardinal veins, the right subcardinal vein, the anastomosis between the subcardinal and the hepatocardiac channel, and next is the right hepatocardiac channel. So this is the composite development of the inferior vena cava. So this was about the development of the aortic arches and the venous systems of the body. There are many other veins which will be taken with the corresponding topics. So just because we have completed with the heart, so I have discussed about the superior and the inferior vena cava. So just read it. I know initially you will feel it difficult. Once you understand the concept, you will grasp it and it is very important when you are discussing about the embryology models in the Viva, as well as for your NEET PG, and as well as in the descriptive questions also, and for the MCQs for your exam. 20 marks you will be having MCQs. So in that also frequently these questions will be asked. Okay. So with that I will conclude my class. So just go through them once. Read them today only, then only you will understand it in a better way. So just once you go through the table how these arteries will be remembering. So always remember, you write in this form, so it will be easy for you all to write also and remember also. So what are the various derivatives of these arches? So with this I'll conclude my class. Thank you for patient listening.
Thank you, ma'am.
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 Okay.